Hello random internet stranger, my name's Michelle, and if you clicked on this video, there's a good chance that you are confused by or have recently become aware of the existence of mega popular Korean boy group BTS. Maybe it was their loud and passionate fan base or their increasingly common appearances on American television, but either way, you still don't really know who they are or why they came out of nowhere and achieved near godlike popularity seemingly overnight. Well, allow me to explain. First of all, to get the quick introduction out of the way, BTS. It's a 7-member boy group based out of Seoul, South Korea. The members are RM, Suga, J-Hope, V, Jin, Jimin, and Jungkook, and they use a combination of rapping, singing, and dancing, all of incredibly high quality, in order to create great music in various genres as well as highly detailed and eye-catching performances. But while their talent is certainly a contributing factor to their overwhelming popularity, I don't believe it's entirely to blame for their success. Because, believe it or not, the level of perfectionism BTS shows in their music and performances is kind of an industry standard in the K-pop world. There are many measures put in place to make sure that everything having to do with any given group is perfect, down to the smallest of details. This is why K-pop stars are often referred to as idols rather than artists, because rather than expressing their own unique thoughts, they're meant to conform to the standards that are already in place and show the most polished and beautiful version of themselves at all times. Korean record labels oftentimes don't want fans to see their artists as regular people with flaws and imperfections. They want them to be seen as legends, because people are messy and can only be controlled to a certain extent, whereas the fate of a legend lies entirely in the hands of whomever is controlling the narrative, which, in this case, is typically a giant Korean media conglomerate. I can't really get into all of the details here, or else this video would be 3 hours long, but just know that the Korean music industry doesn't have multiple gateways and paths to success like the American music industry does. Though times are changing somewhat, it's still incredibly difficult for independent Korean artists to reach even a modicum of success without the help of a big media company backing them. These companies are responsible for scouting and casting talented and beautiful young people and spending literal years training them in singing, dancing, and all other aspects of performance until they are finally deemed good enough to debut as a K-pop star. It's not at all uncommon for K-pop idols to train for upwards of 5 years, practicing singing and dancing for 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And don't forget that because a lot of trainees are underage, they also have to go to school on top of this. So basically, you take a bunch of kids hell-bent on becoming stars, yank them away from their parents, throw them in a dorm, impose strict and stifling rules on them, work them to the bone, and pay them way less than minimum wage, if anything at all, so that you can hopefully one day get a return on the investment you put into training them. That's the standard K-pop company way. And while there are so many flaws with this system, at least from a foreigner's perspective,
안녕하세요.
there are some good things that come out of it too. Obviously, having the most talented people hand-selected and grouped together by a company is going to result in a greater final product than that of individuals who just came together naturally of their own volition. I mean, they're basically stacking the deck in the group's favor from day one. Also, when you decide to support a K-pop group, you can always be like 99.9% certain that the members of said group had to work extremely hard and face so many obstacles just to be able to debut. Not to mention the countless hours of work they have to put into promoting and keeping themselves relevant even after they've already debuted. And finally, since K-pop idols aren't usually able to make very much money from their craft, you can rest assured that they are in it for the right reasons. Nobody, except for maybe extreme narcissists, would subject themselves to stifling K-pop working conditions if they didn't truly love music with all of their heart. And this, finally, brings us back to BTS, and what I think truly separates them from the pack and makes them so popular. They managed to embody the best of both worlds. They came from a small and relatively unknown company that offered them a lot more creative freedom and allowed them to openly express their feelings and frustrations through their music. And since this is something that not many groups, especially rookie groups, were allowed to do back then, fans really connected with it. The individual members were also very active on their own social media channels rather than just sharing one platform as a group, which was also something that wasn't very popular at the time and allowed fans to feel even closer to them. Knowing what the boys were feeling and that they put their hearts and souls into the music that they made created fans that were very passionate, loud, and protective of them, which is something we still see to this day. They call themselves the Army, which is fitting, not only because they're large and powerful, but because they're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure these boys and the important messages they're trying to portray remain intact. Which is a pretty noble pursuit when you really think about it. That being said though, BTS didn't entirely break the mold for what a K-pop boy group should be. They still trained just as hard as any other group, and were subjected to the same types of strict rules and regulations, as can be seen in the lyrics of their song, A Typical Trainee's Christmas.
남순이라도 샤블레 회사도 사장님도 모두 다 미워 나도 엄마가 보고 싶어 다가오는 두번째 크리스마스 작년에 뭘 했었는지 기억도 안 나 그 정도로 재미없었던 기념일을 원했었던
They also lived together in a dorm and worked incredibly hard to promote their music and get their name out there, just like any other K-pop group that came before or after them. And despite their legendary success in America, they are so proud of their Korean roots and refuse to change their music or the way they do things in order to appeal to an even bigger audience. They remain grounded, hardworking, humble, and unified, which I think represents all the best parts of the Korean culture. But they've also added in a layer of authenticity and originality to the equation that has allowed them to beat the system while still being very much a part of the system, thus bridging the gap between artist and idol. Not to mention paving the way for more K-pop groups to break away from traditional conventions in the future. So next time you encounter a BTS fan that you think is a little rowdy or over the top, try and remember that they are just immensely proud that the group that they've supported has defied the odds and broken down barriers, and that they, as a fan, got to play a small part in it. So these have been just a few of my own personal thoughts on why I think that BTS is so popular, but I would love to know your ideas in the comments below. But everybody, please remain civil, okay? Also, you can like and subscribe for more video essays in the future, and let me know if there are any other topics, K-pop or otherwise, that you'd like to see me discuss.